What's going on, people? It's your boy, brasstax, baby. You already know. New viewers, welcome. If you're watching this for the first time, brace yourselves. This is a different kind of review. For those existing subscribers, I know I've been waiting for a couple of weeks, I'm sorry. You know what, I was thinking of what excuse to give you guys, but I'm gonna be honest. I have been a slob, right? Just eating and watching TV. That's what I've been doing. Got the new CX, been enjoying it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna do a review of that upcoming. I'm gonna get a few reviews out first, give it a bit more time. There have been some teething problems, but we're gonna get to that in the review. But otherwise, yeah, having a great time. So this trilogy, this amazing trilogy, is reviewed on a 77-inch CX. Oh yeah, it's about to get serious, baby. Now, before I get to this review, I want to talk about the movies a little bit. Love the first one, love the second one. Wasn't really a big fan of the third. I don't know why, I just thought the third was a little unnecessary. You know, but what can you do? As a trilogy, they're pretty good. Now, usually I would do a comparison with these, the 1080p Blu-rays and the digital versions. Here in the UK, we don't have the digital versions in 4K yet, so I don't know what to say to you. I can't really compare it against that. But what I do remember, what I have seen, is the 1080p versions, and I remember them being, they're varied. Some of them were soft, some of them were a little grainy, a little oversaturated in parts. So I really wanted to see how the 4K Blu-rays excel. These should be the best versions in Atmos, no less. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to talk about the trilogy as a whole, how the 4K discs compare with each other from part 1, 2, and 3, and how they compare with their 1080p counterparts. We're going to find out. So the trilogy as a whole is a big step up from the 1080p. 100%, it's noticeable from the offset. All three of them. The quality of the three vary. I will say the best looking one is the second one, in my personal opinion. I'd say the first one is really good, the second one's a little better, and I think the third one is probably the worst of the three, but that's not to say it's a bad 4K, it's just not as good as the other two. But we're gonna get to why. Now, in all three of these movies, there is light grain, okay? But it's nothing overpowering at all. I remember the 1080p's being far grainier than this, and there is some DNR implementation. Now, I feel there was a bit of DNR in the first, I think there was less in the second, and I feel as though the third one had a lot more DNR in the whole movie. Now, is it Terminator 2 DNR? No, it's not. But what I think is it presents a cleaner image. Purists are obviously going to have a problem with this, but what can you do? Like I said, across all three movies, you're going to have a sharper image. It's more detailed. Marty McFly's jacket, Doc Brown's makeup, little bits and pieces in the DeLorean dashboard. You're going to see things that you wouldn't have seen on the 1080p. I would imagine that DNR does take some detail away because, you know, you're adding softness to present a cleaner image, so you're going to rub some of the detail away, baby. But it's not enough to make you worry about it. I appreciate the cleaner image, to be honest. I mean, I've seen some really foul DNR movies to death. This trilogy is not bad at all. Textures on clothing, pores, makeup, like I said, the road, the scenery in the third one, the western, it's a detailed affair. It's not panty dropping, but it's detailed. You'll appreciate the added detail and added depth across all three movies. Now, I will say though, I'm not gonna lie to you, I ain't gonna lie to you. Special effects take a hit. They do, especially in the second one. You got all the flying cars, they don't look great, people. I don't know what to say, and especially when you got two Marty McFlys on screen. One looks softer than the other one. It's like one is DNR'd more. Okay, well obviously that's not the case, but it is what it is. What can you do? What can you do? A movie of that time, what do you expect? And I will say, in terms of visuals, sharpness, detail, it can be a little inconsistent overall. You'll see some shots which are slightly softer than others, and some scenes look great. Now, surprisingly, I was very impressed with the back levels, and that's not because I got a CX 77-inch OLED. No, I'm just saying generally, the black levels are very good in these movies. Very good, especially nighttime shots. I'd say the second one is perhaps got the most nighttime shots and it looks great. You can see everything clearly, with or without an OLED. If you've got an OLED, you got the better black levels, the juicy ones. But generally, you guys are going to be fine with the black levels. Shadow details a bit weak here and there. It is across all three, and I will say that all three are brighter discs than the 1080p and counterparts for sure. Very noticeable there. It's not blinding, but they're just overall brighter. I'd say the third one is less bright than than parts 1 and 2, but overall brighter discs. We like brighter discs. In terms of 4K Arch, this Trilogy has it, but guess what? We got to talk about HDR. I'm not going to give you an analogy. I'm going to give you a word that best describe the HDR in these three discs, and that is refinement. Now, when I talk about HDR, I also include WCG in there, which is the wider color gamut. There's certain scenes scattered throughout this trilogy which look great in HDR. The lightning in the clock tower is one. There are other instances, but overall, I'd say it's a fairly refined experience. There's nothing really panty dropping. There's nothing which is going to blow you away, but you will notice nuance and a bit more pop in just the colors overall. I mean, I liked the colors in when you got the flying cars in part 2. God damn, I loved the colors there. However, the best way to describe the colors in this trilogy is that it's a warmer affair. Especially the third one is significantly warmer in tone than the first two, probably because it's a Western, right? So it's the wild, wild West. So you've got that kind of orangey, browny vibe, sepia kind of tones. But generally, it's definitely warmer. Gradients in jackets and some of the special effects, there is pop, but nothing panty dropping. And I do like that in especially part 1, some of the colors have been toned down a little bit as well, because I did feel that the 1080p discs, the first two specifically, were oversaturated in parts. And what they've done is they've leveled the colors out. They've balanced the colors, but still giving it a bit more vibrancy. I'll be honest, I was expecting the third one to perhaps pop more, to give me some of that blinding, bright light that HDR produces, but it was still very nice, very pleasing. But I think, because there's so many nice vistas, there's such a nice view. The wild, wild west, you got the sunset, you got the desert, you got all kinds of things going on. But not quite there, but still overall all three very pleasing. Not panty dropping, but pleasing. This is a pleaser, baby. So let's get over to Dolby Atmos for sound. And I really like the Atmos in all three. All three. You know what I like about this trilogy? You got great Atmos, full screen, and then nice upgrades. Okay, the Dolby Atmos, you tell your girl to sit on the woofer and see what happens. You know what's gonna happen? She's gonna sit on there and she's gonna be impressed. Yeah, she may not die on that woofer, but she'll be amused, I ain't gonna lie to you. I think the Atmos in all three, I prefer the ones on the first two. I prefer the tracks on the first two movies. Third one's pretty good too, but great object-based sound. Object-based surround sound. Really good. The flying cars looked amazing. When the car shoots off at the end of the first movie, you can hear that go straight past you, above you, all sorts. Great surround sound. Go Johnny, go, 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 goes. Okay, you hear that envelop the room, you want to sing, you want to get your guitar out, hoping you don't disappear and start playing some shit. And dialogue is clear, the soundstage is very wide indeed, and the overheads are present. Even in the first movie, you're hearing a lot of ambiance. I mean, you're not going to get that on the 1080p. In the Wild Wild West, you hear gunshots that can be deafening the bass. The bass will shake the place. And although the Atmos across all three is not referenced by any stretch, but you're going to hear sounds watching this movie that you may have forgotten about or just plain point blank just didn't hear in the 1080p. It's the audio is an entirely different experience. And there we have it, people, the trilogy. By far the best way to watch these movies is in 4K. Okay, the HDR is not going to blow you away, but you're going to appreciate these movies, and it's clearly the best they have ever looked. Now, granted, they've got DNR in them. I know the third one's got slightly more, but it's nothing which is going to distract you. You're going to appreciate how clean these movies look. If that doesn't work for you, you got the Dolby Atmos, which is very, very good indeed. To be honest, I wasn't expecting it to be. and I was very pleasantly surprised. And so was my girl sitting on the woofer. She's still there. This trilogy is definitely worth a pick up, 100%. I recommend it. I'm gonna give, as a trilogy as a whole, I'm gonna give the visuals an 8, and I'm gonna give the Atmos an 8.5. So if you were on the fence, not sure whether to pick this up or not, you needn't be. Go pre-order that bad boy. It's really, really good. And that's it, people. More reviews to come. Subscribe if you haven't. You better subscribe, people. 4K Rockstar. You already know.